Boker Tov. Let's start today's Daf Yomi. Here's the Gemaras. The Daf Yomi for today is Bava Basra 68, and we're going to start on 68a, 3 lines to the top. The Daf is dedicated for Shemira for the Chayalim, Matzah for the Shvuyim, and the Yeshua for Am Yisrael. And this Eis Tzara, the Gemara tells us. On 68a, 3 lines from the top, a person said to his friend, a person said to his friend, I'm selling you an olive press and everything associated with it. You want some? I should have asked you. There were these shopkeepers that there were shops on the outside that they were drying out the sesame there. So also Rav Yosef, so they came to Rav Yosef and Amarle Tanina. The sesame seeds should be included. Abaye says Rebbe Chia said not everything is included. Did he say these borders as well? Then he acquired it. Otherwise, he didn't. Okay. We're on to the next Mishnah. Somebody says, I'm selling a city. He owned like a little trailer park. He says, somebody says, I'm selling a city. He has sold houses. He has sold the houses in the city and all the wells. He sold the bathhouses and the chicken coops. And he also sold the olive press and the beis hashlachin. The Gemara is going to argue what the beis hashlachin are. He has not sold the movables in the city. Those weren't included in the sale. But when he says, I'm selling you it and everything in it, even if you had animals and servants in the city, everybody's going to be sold, included within it. Rashbag says, Rashbag says somebody who sells a city has included within the sale the santer, and a lot of the daf today is going to be discussing what's a santer. Shmas Mina, we learned from our sugya, from our Mishnah, which says that if you sell the city, you have not sold the animals and the avadim, the servants, but if you say the metaltalin, then even the avadim are included. If you say I'm selling it and everything that's in it, and even the avadim are included. So he says, we learn from here, avda k'metaltali dummy, that we learn from here that how do we categorize servants? We categorize them not as the property category known as real estate, but as a property category known as movables. DK benkarka dummy, because if you want to say it's literally like the real estate, then this dabin agamasa. And then if you want to say it's like real estate, then they would be sold when they sold with the city. So the Gemara says, so you want to say that what is it considered? It's considered a metaltal and LMI metaltal dummy. If you want to say it's like movables, then why does it use the word afilu? Why does it say even the avadim are sold? I mean to say all metaltal are sold. LMI is lachamemar. What must you say? That shani they metaltally deny the metaltally deny. That our Mishnah is drawing a distinction between movables that move, and like avadim, that even they're included, and movables that don't move that are for sure included, but even the movables that are move are included. So therefore, once you're saying that, afilu tema avdika mekarka dami, you could even say that the avadim are like karka, and that the reason why the Mishnah doesn't include it is shani bein mekarka denial mekarka delonai, because there's a distinction between the real estate that moves and the real estate that doesn't move, and so therefore you can't prove anything from here. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, if you sold the city, you sold the santer. Well, what's a santer? Says the Gemara, my santer. Hacha targimo, here that they explain that what's the santer? Bar machvanisa. Here they said that the santer is the bar machvanisa. Rashbam tells us, thank you, Bill. This is the servant that's appointed to mark the fields and say who they belong to. So Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says you sold the city, you sold the santer, and the Gemara says that that here they explain that the santer is the like surveyor of the city. Shimon ben Avtumel says that it's the bagi. These are fields around surrounding the city. Mandam or Marchvani. So the one who says it's the surveyor, Kol Shekaim Bagi, then for sure he's going to say the fields are included because fields are fixed. And Mandam or Bagi, but the one who says it's the fields of Al Bar Machvanisa Lo Mizdabim. But the Bar Machvanisa, the person, the surveyor, he's not included in this sale. So now on base, so the Gemara says we'll try and prove it from our Mishnah. Base Abadu, Base Hashlachin. That when you sell a city, you include the olive press and the Base Hashlachin. The Gemara's assumption is Tavrua Mai Shlachin. What are these Shlachin? Bagi, fields, because it says V'sholech Mayim Al Panei Chutzos. It says you shoot forth the water on the field. So it's Shlachin is like sending forth on the fields. Bishlam Amanda Amar Bar Machvanisa. It makes sense to say a santer is a Bar Machvanisa, this person. Amar Tanakama Bagi Mizdamni, because the first case is saying that the fields are sold and Bar Machvanita Lo Mizdabin, whereas the people, the surveyor is not sold. V'asr Shimon Gamliel Memar Afilu Bar Machvanisa Not Mizdabin. Shimon Gamliel comes along and says even the clerk is sold. Elaman Amar Bagi, but according to the one who says that the santer is a Bagi, Tanakama Nami Achakamar. So then when you're saying the field is sold twice, you have the shlachin is sold and the field is sold. The rest says no. Mi savras my shlachin. Bagi, no, don't think that the shlachin is these fields. My shlachin ginu nisa. It's a different type of property. It's called gardening. It's the garden. It's not a field where they grow basic grains. It's the garden, and so that's why there's a distinction. Shenemar shelachayach pardeis rimonim. Your shelachayach, which is like Beis Hashlachin, is an orchard field. The beginning of Malikatim discusses the Beis Hashlachin, and there it's clear it's a field, but here our Gemara seems to say maybe it's a garden. Bagi lo mizdabnim, but the bagi is not a sold. That even this field is sold. So that's one version. And Ikada Amri, a different version of the same discussion is Savruah Mai Shlachin. They said assumption. What are these Shlachin? Tinu Naisa. That Shlachin are gardens. Now Bishlam Amar Bagi. It makes sense according to the one that the bagi is sold. Amar Tanakama Ginu Nice, Simas Daman, Tanakama saying the garden are sold, but the Bagi Lom is Damni, but the fields are not sold. Rashbag says that field Bagi is Damni. Even the Bagi is sold, even the fields are sold. Or on top of 68b. El Amanda Amar Bar Machvan Niaisa, but according to the one who says that it is just a clerk, Amar Tanakama Ginu Naisa, the Tanakama would say a garden is sold. So why does he respond about a person? He should have said about a field. So the Gemara says, no. So you think the shlachin are the garden? No, my shlachin bagi. The shlachin is the field. But the bar machmanisa, the surveyor is not sold. And so according to this version, would say, you could say even the bar machvanisa is not sold, and he says even it is sold. So the Gemara is trying to figure out what is a shlachin, what is a santer, which Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is saying even the santer is going to be sold. So what's a santer? We're still arguing about it. So Tashma Rabbi Yehuda says santer ain't a machor. The santer is not sold, but the ankulmus is the person who's the king's scribe in the town. So he is machor, he is sold. It comes from the word kulmis, which is a quill. So what do we say? Midian kulmis, gavra, santer nami gavra. From the text of this brisa, clearly the kulmis is a person. So clearly the santer is also a person. And so therefore it's the clerk and not the field. Gemara says, no, midi area. You think they both have to be talking about the same thing? Hakadisa. It's possible they're talking about two separate things. Can you really say that they're talking about two separate things? Can you really say that the santor is fields and Rabbi Yehuda says it's not sold? Can you really say that the santor is a field and Rabbi Yehuda is saying it's not sold? But we learned Vakatani Seifa, but the next clause of the Bryce says will be barren. Will be barin shel chayev shel ofesh shel dagim. We say that what is not sold, the fields on the outside, the lo banosea, and these are the villages that are next to the city, and not the chorshin hamuktzin, not the forests that open up into it, and not the bibarin. These are the animal enclosures of the wild animals and the fish. The amrina mai sheyareha. And we said, what are these shiareh of the city? And these are the bizli. These are the fields. My bizli, Amarabia, Piski Bagi. These are the divisions of the field. These are small portions of the field that are basically divisions. So Piska Bagi Mizdavni. These divisions of the field are not sold. Bagi Atzma Mizdavni. But the fields themselves are sold. So how can Rabbi Yehuda say it's not sold? So question on Rabbi Yehuda. So Epoch, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Santer Machor Kolmos Eno Machor. No, Rabbi Yehuda says the fields are sold. You flip it, but the kolmos is what's not sold. Mar says Umimatzis Amers. Can you really say that Rabbi Yehuda that Rabbi Yehuda is saying the Santer is sold and he paskins like Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Tzvirway, Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan Tzvirway. But he can't because he holds like the Rabbanan who say the Katani of Sefer, because the next clause states, the Rabbi Yehuda says that if he says everything that's in it is sold, but not the parts outside of it. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Amar Machar Seir Machar Benoseh. He says you did sell these suburbs. The Tanya Machar Seir Machar Benoseh. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says Machar Seir Machar Benoseh. So Rabbi Yehuda Sabai Kavas B'Chad B'Chad. Rabbi Yehuda holds like him by Kasanter, but he argues with him about the suburbs. So we have no proof what a santer is. Gemara says we learned in this Tosefta that you do not include in the sale of the city the bibarin shalchayav shalufas v'shaldagim. You haven't included the enclosures of the wild animals. There are many, but we have a contradiction. Hayu banos. It says in the Brisa, if there are these suburbs, einim karosima, they're not sold with the city. But let's say you have an island and part on the dry land, or bibarim shalchayav shalofes shaldagim areunim karamima. But the wild enclosures are sold with it. So how can you say that they're not sold with it? So Gemara says it depends. If it opens into the city, it's sold with it. If it opens externally, it's not sold with it. I'll see you tomorrow morning, guys. 8 a.m. God willing. God willing. Gemara says, but doesn't it say you're not selling the forests that are connected to it? Even if they open into the city, they're not sold. Meaning to say you don't sell the forests that are separate from it, meaning that open into the wilderness. Next Mishnah, so if you sell the field, you sell the stones that the field needs. And you sell the poles in the vineyard that the vineyard needs. You sell the crops that are connected to the ground. And you also sold these fields. These are the chitzas akanim. These are the basically. These are the fields of the reeds in the place where they grow, if it's less than a base rova, basically, because then it's not significant enough to be an independent item. And you sold the guard's tower, that's not fully cemented together, so then it's not considered significant. And you sold a carob tree that's not yet grafted, so it's not significant. And a sycamore tree that's a young one. But you haven't sold the stones that are independent, that are not for the field, or the poles that are not for the rest of the grapevine. Not the cut crops. But if you say I'm selling you the field and everything in it, everything is sold. And you haven't sold the field of reeds that's bigger than the size of a rova, not the guard's duty tower that has cement on it, and not the grafted caribou, because all these things are significant. You sell a field, implication is you're not including these significant items that are going to be excluded. So I just want to say that we'll go on now a little bit.